Yo, what's going on, guys? Looks a little different. I know. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Get your boy in there. Real thick like. All right, let's go. You guys know what this is. It's the Coach Colin podcast. Today, what I'm going to play for you is a little clip. We're going to talk. I'm not going to just play clips and stuff, but I wanted to play this clip of the Liver King talking to Patrick Bet-David about what he's done and in terms of the steroids use and stuff. He's trying to redeem himself. He's on a podcast run, kind of trying to redeem himself in front of whoever will listen. And I kind of like this episode a lot. In this isn't fully about the Liver King. It's more about what Patrick Bet-David's talking about in terms of you never know why you're going through something. Like the way or the reason will show itself, but it may not be the next day or the next week, the next month, or even the next year. It might be way down the line. And just the way that he breaks down this story is just really, really interesting. So I just want to play this for you real quick. Plus I learned how to do this. I didn't know how to do this screen here and all. So I'm doing it, getting my Penguin Zero on,
To the son, I say, listen, life is very weird. You don't know what role you're playing, okay? You may be going through this, and you're training those two boys, and one of them's going to be a president. You don't even know it yet. It may take you 40 years to realize, holy shit, that's why God put, man, how freaking weird is that?
Yeah.
And the issue today in 30 years, guess how big it is? Like this, right? It's so weird how life works. I'm going to tell you a crazy story about my dad, and then we can transition into some other things. My dad never talked about his dad. I never met my grandpa, my dad's dad. Always respect. My dad will never say anything bad about his family. Super protect. Even if they're wrong, he'll never say they were wrong. He's like the straight up, like, never do anything to undermine his brothers, sisters, none of them. Even if they screwed up, nothing, right? And if he does, it's always from a standpoint of, but no one's perfect. And, he kind of goes that angle.
Patrick Bet-David, he tends to tell stories like a mafia boss would, like he goes off on little tangents, little broken sentences here and there. But I love the way the guy tells stories. It's really good. So it sounds like he's taking his time, but trust me, he's going to get to the point quicker than you think. So
one day he's like in the apartment, and we're living together, and he's in tears. He's crying. And I'm like, so what's up? What's going on? He says, you wouldn't believe what happened. I said, what happened? And he's just like rubbing his forehead like this. We're not living together at that time. I don't know what year this is, but I'm sitting there talking to him. And he says, do you know what Siamak just told me? Siamak is our brother-in-law. We call him a saint. He's a sweetheart. He married my sister. Their 20-year anniversary just happened a couple weeks ago. He says, do you know how my dad died? I said, I don't know how your dad died. He says, my dad died because he had a stroke. And he says, you know what was the most painful thing for me? He says, no. He says, my father, in the last month before he died, he said a lot of painful things to me. And he's never said that to me because I love my dad. And I'm like, I have no clue where this guy's going with this, right? My dad's very guarded. He won't open up. He says, for 35 years since this man died, whatever the timeline, I've been trying to figure out, why would you on your deathbed say so, like you're such a disappointment, son, you're so this. These are painful words from the man you look up to. He says, Siamak just came home and told us his dad just had stroke, and he went to check on his dad. And every day his dad's telling him how disappointed he is in him, okay? And then the doctor, after a couple weeks, just posed him aside and said, listen, one of the symptoms when a man's having a stroke and they're in this situation, they say very hurtful things to the people they love the most. And Siamak came to console to my dad and open up to my dad, and my dad's like, dude, are you kidding me? I've been freaking dealing with this for 35 years. That's what my dad told me. Yeah. Look at 35 freaking years for my dad to take this weight off his back. Oh. It's such, you understand what I just, he's telling me this story. I'm sitting there saying, holy frick. That means some of the answers to certain questions that we're going through right now. You mean to tell me I have to wait 35 years for the answer? Damn. Yes. Wow. Talk about patience. Man.
Oh my God.
So you may be going through this shit right now. And you ain't going to know for 30 years. And in 30 years, you're going to be like, did you just see what happened? Yeah. Is that? Yeah. Damn, dog. Like, that's a weird thing about life, that when we're going through an embarrassing moment and it's like all the spotlight's on us, You ain't as big of a deal as you think you are. Like, you tell yourself, relax, bro.
Yeah.
You're going to die. Everyone's
Easy.
going to move on. It's going to be all right. But during this time right now, I understand it's painful.
There's been so many guys that.
So, like, yeah, that right there, it's like, you just don't. Sometimes the thing that you're going through, in terms of like his story, sometimes the thing you're going through, you feel like it's happening to you, or you don't understand why it happened to you, and you don't realize that down the line in life, that it's something that you're going to use to guide somebody else. And through giving them that guidance, you're going to not only heal them, but you're going to heal yourself. Like, some things are not meant to be, or not meant to come full circle until you help that other person who's going through the same type of thing through it. And then through that little bit of guiding them and helping them, you get healed as well. It's wild to think about. Like what he just said. It's like, sometimes, like, you mean like you're gonna have to wait 20 years, 30 years for the answers to some things? And it's like, yeah, you are. Like, I've always wondered why I went through such a rough childhood in terms of like neglect. I always wondered why. Like, why did all this stuff happen? And then I start coaching people, like down the line, like literally, like, 20 years later, I start coaching people. And now any story that I hear, like, not even just a rough childhood, just a rough life, like having to go through all the things from dealing to addiction to, watching people close to me go to jail for long periods, to having to work really shitty jobs, feeling like, through these jobs, feeling like at the very brink of, not wanting to be around anymore, and just going through like a crappy life, what it felt like to me. Other people might kill for that type of life, I don't know, but for me it felt like shit, and it just kept going and it kept going and kept going. It's only got better in the last like 7 years. And I was always wondering, like, why? But now I coach people, and it's like, no matter what story I'm told, and I'm told some pretty crazy stories, I'm like, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I've gone through that. I went through that same thing. Like, all of a sudden I'm prepared for whatever comes in this atmosphere of coaching, And yeah, it's just, you can't tell why you're going through something while you're going through it. Like, another example is like, why did I have, I always wondered, like, why was it my dad that had to like not be around, and then when I re-met him, I won't say he was no good, but like, he wasn't the exemplary dad. He wasn't the shining example of what a dad should be. And I was like, why would that? Why do I get that? Like, why do other people get these dads that are there and build businesses and give them money and take care of them? I'm like, why didn't I get that? Is it just like bullshit? Like, do I just deserve that? And it's like, now that I'm on the cusp of becoming a father, me and my wife are planning to have kids very soon. All of a sudden, I do that because, like, I hate people hearing me swallow. And even if you did, I apologize. I got to work on that. I don't know what to do about that. But now all of a sudden, when I have kids, I'm going to understand the importance of being a present father. I'm going to understand the importance of being there, of giving them kind words, giving them courage, teaching them things from integrity to self-defense. Like, I understand fully right now why it's so important to be a good father, to be a present father. And it's because of the absence of my own father. Now all of a sudden I get it, like, beyond what I could explain. because I felt it. I felt what it's like to not be there. Like I got cheated on twice in my life in long-term relationships. And now, it's like, why does that happen to me? Like, am I not a man? I'm not good enough. Why does that happen to me? All of a sudden now I met the woman of my dreams, and there's no part of me that wants to do anything like that to her. Why? Because I know what it feels like. I get it. So now it's like, I know exactly how to be a great husband because I know what it's like to be like drugged through the dirt in a relationship. And there's two sides. I'm sure those people could be like, actually, you know what? I'm not here to speak for them. I'm here to speak for myself. But yeah, like I get it now. So it's like, yeah, the things you go through, you can never understand why until that time comes, And like, I haven't become a father yet, but like I can already see it. I've seen people who are fathers now who are a little older than me or younger. And it's like, they don't get it. They had this mediocre dad. They had this present dad. So they don't get why it's so important. They don't really get why it's so important. Because sometimes it's like you don't understand why you kind of get why your hands are important, but you really understand why your hands are important if one of them gets taken away. If you lose one, all of a sudden now you're like, 2 hands, man, that's the life. That's that life. If I could have 2 hands, So I just wanted to play that clip, Liver King. He's going through it. In this interview, he cries. This is a really good interview. I listened to this interview, no joke. I listened to it 3 times. Again, you know me. I'm like Rain Man when it comes to certain things. But it did help me figure out which parts of this that I wanted to play. And I'm probably going to do another video on another part of this. But yeah, great interview, man. And you know what the crazy thing is with the Liver King? If you watch this interview, if you watch how he's being, how open he's being, how transparent he's being, how honest, how vulnerable. If he started out like this, people wouldn't give a fuck if the guy did steroids or not. They wouldn't give a fuck. They wouldn't care at all. It wouldn't even be a thing inside their head. If they knew, if they didn't know, they wouldn't even care if he just started out like this. I mean, look at Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan does steroids. We don't even think about it when we hear him say something intelligent or talking about exercise. We don't even think about it. It doesn't even cross our minds. But he's avidly done it since he was like, I think he said 37 or something like that. And he's like 54 now, 55. He's been doing it for almost 20 years. Doesn't come up. Doesn't matter. The only time it comes up is when he brings it up. Other than that, no one brings it up. Because of who he became in our eyes as a man was so much more important. And that's what the Liver King's doing in this interview. And I just wish he started like that, because it's a really good interview. Like, I know the Liver King is known for a bunch of like weird eating liver and talking subprimal and being like a cartoon character of himself. But in this interview, it's nothing like that. It's actually really good. Check it out. It's on the Patrick Bet David podcast. The YouTube channel is called the PBD podcast. Great podcast. He interviews everybody from Liver King to mob bosses to CIA operatives to FBI operatives. It's actually a great podcast. All right. That's been it for the podcast. I just wanted to break that down. You never know why you're going through something in life, so don't feel like you have this shitty life. All it is that you have some unanswered questions. If you are going through something terrible, it might be because you're meant to teach somebody how to get through that terrible thing. And without you going through it, they wouldn't have anybody to teach them how to go through it. So it's not the greatest gift to get, but it is a gift. And you'll see that when the time comes. All right, I'm out. Peace.